Hey guys, it's James here again. Hope you're all well. Hope you've all had a great weekend. Sorry for the delay in uploading this video, but we're here now. It's Tuesday when you're watching this and it's time for another video. So today's video, we'll be talking about the book Managing Oneself, a really quick but great read and one that I think will be very effective for everyone who watches this video today. And I hope I can give you some lessons and some reasons why you should be reading this book. Let's get straight into it. So, just quickly to introduce who Peter Drucker is, he's one of the guys who's really behind a lot of the MBA programs that there are today. He's consulted with the likes of Proctor Gamble, IBM and Intel and hope to build them into, to consult them on their way to becoming the companies that they are today. So a really, really good figure to follow and someone who I think we can all learn a lot from. So let's get straight. Okay, so the first key thing that Peter talks about in the book is to understand what our strengths are. Through knowing what our strengths are, we're able to make wise decisions and to easily know where we belong in our work and in our life itself. One way that Peter talks about for learning what our strengths are is to use feedback analysis. So what he recommends doing is every time you're about to make a key decision or key action, to get your diary or a journal, note it down, note what you expect the outcome to be, and then in a year's time to review this. Within 2 to 3 years' time, you'll have a great understanding of what you're good at, what you perform well in and what you don't perform so well in. From doing that, once you understand your strengths, Peter suggests 3 courses of action after this. Firstly, you should concentrate on your strengths. Secondly, look at improving on your strengths. Or thirdly, find out the things that are inhibiting your strengths. So for example, say if you've done a really fancy degree in, I don't know, maths or physics or engineering, it's all great having that expertise, but say if you have bad communication skills and you're not able to convey your expertise to your client, say if you're in a client-facing role, then you're not going to be able to show off your expertise and live up to your full potential that you can be. So that's a really, really important thing to do. Once you know what your strengths are, is to get the things out of the way that are inhibiting your strengths. Peter actually says in the book, talking further on from, and it feeds into how the school system is today, is that it takes far more energy and work to improve from being incompetent to mediocre, and it takes a lot less to improve your strengths from first-rate performance to excellence. So it's key to understand that we should focus on improving our strengths and things that we're good at rather than things we're not good at. So that's something that maybe the school system today doesn't necessarily do for us as kids or for our kids when we grow up. Like when we have kids when we grow up, you know, they're sort of forced to take a wide breadth of things rather than to focus on things they're good at and focus on things, as we'll talk about, they perform well in doing. And as he says here, most people, especially teachers and organisations, concentrate on making incompetent performers into mediocre ones, and energy, time and resources should instead really go towards making a competent person into a star performer, and this is something that I couldn't agree more with. So now let's go in and discuss how we perform and understanding that part of ourselves. Okay, so the next key thing that Peter talks about in the book is to understand how we perform and to realise that we only perform at our best when we're doing things what we work our best at. So the first way of getting towards this and understanding how well we perform and what we perform best at is to understand firstly how we learn things. So are we a listener or a reader to start with? So do you prefer reading a book, perhaps like I do sometimes, or do you prefer listening to an audio book, which I do here and there, but I find I don't consume information as well via the audio books. Moving on from this, we need to understand how we learn. So do we prefer listening to a lecturer? Do we prefer writing things down? Do we prefer taking notes? Or do we prefer doing the thing itself and learning by doing, that's certainly something I do. Once someone shows me how to do something, it's something that I feel I then can do then and again and again. It's like when I drive somewhere, I can usually, once I've driven there once, I'll roughly know the way. I can pretty much do it with maybe 95% of it on my own, maybe the 5% with a sat-nav as well, but do you know what I mean? I learn better from doing, but we're all different at the end of the day, and that's what makes us great as human beings, because we're all different and we can all learn from each other's ways of learning. It helps us to understand each other as people as well, so we can perform better alongside one another. Next things to understand alongside this are what environment we work best in. Do we work well on our own? Do we work well in a team? Do we work better as a decision maker, or do we work better as an advisor? The key thing to do is to not change yourself, and we should work hard to improve the way that we perform and do our best to work on things where we know we're going to perform well. That way we'll feel more fulfilled as people and we'll perform better work in general. Okay, so the next lesson that Peter talks about in the book is talking about our values and understand what our values are as a person. And that's something that really you've got to come into understanding through your own experience. It can't necessarily be taught. It's something that you will come to know through doing. So let's put this into an example. Say if you work in HR, for example, and you're working in a big organisation, and you prefer hiring new employees to bring into the business and then mould them into the roles that you're looking for. Whereas the business you work for, they prefer hiring from inside and improving their current workforce. Your values aren't going to necessarily align with your organisation, and therefore you're more likely to perform poorly than you are to perform well, and you're not going to feel as satisfied in the work. So it's really important to sort of align the organisation you're working in and align your work with your values as best as possible. It is possible for our strengths and our values to conflict, however. So in Peter's case, he actually worked as an investment banker, and he was a great investment banker. However, he didn't necessarily want to be the richest man in the grave. He instead valued people themselves and looking after people. So he actually quit his job as an investment banker, which is a very nicely paid profession, during some of the hardest times in America, during the Great Depression itself. So a mad move to do, but he aligns himself with his values, and therefore he performed better and felt more satisfied and fulfilled in his work. In my case, I value my autonomy, I value freedom, and I value being able to sort of put my own direction and put my own routine and things into place. So that's why since the age of 15 I've always worked for myself, because I've dreaded the thought of working for someone else and someone saying, right, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're working towards, and me not having no choice or autonomy over the matter. So yeah, that's sort of how my values align with my work, for example. So yeah, let's move on to understanding where we belong. So, where we belong. Imagine a Venn diagram. So, one of these circular diagrams where you've got two places with a converging part in the middle, and then you've got a third part. What you want to imagine is you've got your strengths in one part, you've got your values in one part, and you've got how you perform in one part. Where you belong is going to be that sort of intersection in the middle of these, and in that area there where you belong, which obviously you'll come to understand with your own experience and just doing things, you'll perform a lot better when it comes to making decisions and taking advantage of opportunities that come to you when you're in this area, and you'll understand where you belong. It's sort of a thing over the time. So you could belong in being a lawyer in your career, you could belong in being an investment banker, you just don't know. You've got to experience things and sort of work at it to understand where you belong with your strengths, how you perform, and with your values itself. So the next lesson from the book is talking about what you should do and what you should contribute, essentially. And what this is the tasks that we should be spending our time on. So he challenges us to ask three things. The first of these three things being, what does the situation require that we're in? Secondly, he suggests that you look, given your strengths, way of performing, and your values, how can I make my greatest contribution to the task at hand? And then lastly, what results have to be achieved for you to be able to make a difference? In doing these, you'll essentially be able to set your tasks and understand what you need to contribute to things in way of your work and your personal life, and you'll be able to perform better through knowing things what to do. You should really look, from what I understand from this book, setting goals perhaps 18 months in advance, and setting lofty goals, but not ones that are too hard for you to achieve. You want to set the bar high enough so you have to push yourself on the way to achieving. You can really find the sweet spot with tasks and goals, and you can really help to push yourself to perform. And over the years, as it talks about the theory of compounding, compounding will work over time when you're putting tasks and goals together, and you'll be amazed by what you achieve in 5-10 years time through setting these tasks and goals. At the end of the day, you want to look at thinking your goals are meaningful. You want to be meaningful to you, and you want to feel fulfilled from them. And for doing that, you're going to be more likely to perform well to the highest of your abilities over time. Lastly, one of the things talking about contribution, which I've just forgotten, is that goals, what you set, and tasks, what you set, should be measurable. And Peter Drucker is very famous when talking about measurability of goals. He says that what gets measured gets managed. So keep that in mind, because when you measure tasks over time, you'll be able to manage them well over time and manage yourself towards achieving these goals. Okay, so the next thing that Peter talks about in the book is taking responsibility for relationships themselves. So one thing what we must understand is that people are as much of an individual as we are. And we've got to understand that people have different ways of working from us. They may have different strengths, they may have different values, they may have different ways of performing. Understanding these different ways of how they work will then allow us to work well with others, be able to delegate well, so if we're in a managerial position, decision maker's position, or be able to work alongside them well in a team, in an environment where you're both working towards the same goal. You can help push your team member, and if they understand you, they can help push you too. But the key thing to it is you must take responsibility of this relationship to understand that person yourselves, and you've got to do that by way of asking and working with them. You can't just expect them to tell you, like come up to you and go, oh yes, this is my way I perform, these are my strengths and these are my values. You can't expect someone to just come up to you and do that. You've got to take responsibility and go and find that out from the person first that you're going to be working on. Okay, so the last thing that Peter talks about is the second half of your life. So this is something that I've not necessarily got to just yet, you know, at the ripe old age of 24, I hope anyway, you know, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's something he talks about, and he says that after 20 years or so of working, you are generally very, very good at what you do. However, you know, you're not getting the same satisfaction of the work that you're doing, you're not contributing in the same way, you're not getting the same amount of satisfaction. So what he suggests that you do is one of three things. You could either start a career within a different kind of organisation, you know, changing things up, so you've got something new. He suggests starting a parallel career, so we call this a side hustle in our modern day. So, you know, you could start up something around your passion. You could start up a Shopify store selling something that you love. You could start selling websites, building websites for people. You could go and walk dogs, I don't know. Something or other that you're passionate about, you feel fulfilled from doing, and you feel you can grow within doing as well. The last thing, say if you're an entrepreneurial person like myself, you may look into going into starting up a not-for-profit organisation, for example, you know, something else that you're passionate about and something you feel you could create benefit and you could contribute to others from. So yeah, 3 different ways of dealing with the second half of your life, you know, getting to a midlife crisis, which is something I hope I don't get to just yet, you know, at the ripe old age of 24, but who knows. Guys, that was Managing Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. A really, really great book. I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys to check this book out. It's only a short read. I came across it off of Ty Lopez's website. It's actually the #1 on his books for recommended books. So that was the reason why I decided to get this. I asked for it for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's well worth the read. It's only 55 pages long of reading, so you know you could get this done in a day really, and it's well worth the read. You'll learn a lot from it. So yeah, cop hold of this book, guys. Let me know what you think, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you again on Thursday with my next video. I'm going to be talking about the book The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, a book that I listened to on my most recent holiday, all on the subject of procrastination. So stay tuned for that if you're looking forward to it and you want to learn more about that subject. If you've enjoyed the video today, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate the 38 subscribers I've got already. I still can't believe it, and hopefully I'll have many more of you joining this community. Take care, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you all later.